Hi there and welcome to week 9. We're done with all the learning for the class. You've got it all the information and hopefully you're retaining it and understanding it. And all we have left is finishing up test 3 and then the final exam. So I want to bring your attention to some of the announcements. Hopefully, if you were planning to drop the course, that you did it by today. There's course evaluation. I would appreciate if you fill that out by clicking on the survey button up at the top of your screen and filling out that course evaluation. That's used to make improvements to the class, and I won't see them until after the class is over, but hopefully you can make some constructive criticism and that would be very helpful. Week 9, test 3 closes on Tuesday, so make sure that you've completed the handwritten review for test 3 and that you're prepared to take the test if you haven't already. I haven't received them back, but I have received and graded test 2, and I wanted to talk a little bit about test 2. So let me go over to some of those questions. And one of them was here and another one here. These two questions are something I want to talk about. First thing I wanted to mention, when you take a test, don't ever leave a question blank. You've done a lot of learning and you must have some clue as to how to solve a problem, but you may not be sure, and that's okay, but try. Make an educated guess. Don't ever leave a question blank. That's going to help you in the long run. Second thing, when you're working on a problem, especially one that is something you might have to deal with in real life, ask yourself the question, does this make sense? So for this question, a wool suit is discounted by 30%, and after the discount is taken, it has a price tag of $349. What a lot of people did to solve this question, which was what was the suit's original price, was take 30% off the discounted price. Now, does that make sense? We already took 30% off and got $349. That's not going to give us the discounted amount if we take it off the discounted price. What we want to do is take 30% off the original or the base price. So to calculate the amount of the discount, take 0.30 times B, the base price, and we're going to subtract that from B to give us the final discounted price of $349. That's one way to set up an equation to solve this. Another way is to think about this. If we took 30% off of the base price, then what's left is the discounted price, or 70%. So to figure out what that original price was, we take 70%, or 0.70 times B, or times the base price, and that's what we get, $349. So that's one way you should be looking at questions like this and asking yourself, does that make sense? Now here's one about finance charges or interest charges. Now the annual rates range anywhere from 9% to 24%, but that's an annual rate. So if you're looking for a monthly finance charge and you come up with an amount like 20% perhaps, ask yourself, does that make sense? Does that make sense that I'm paying 20% in 1 month? If that were the case, then what would your annual percentage rate be? It would be 12 times that 20%, or 240%. Is that a reasonable interest rate? So always ask yourself the question, does that make sense? Especially when you're dealing with word problems. Understand what you're being asked. Another one here, if we have an enrollment of 325 men and 123 women, if we're looking at a percent increase, ask yourself the question, does that make sense? Could I have an increase of 100% or 230%? Ask yourself that question, does that make sense? So never leave a question blank and ask yourself the question, does that make sense? And also when you're looking at solving equations, I give you the option of checking your answer, but why not always check your answer? Even if there's no way to actually check, you can review your answer. In every instance, I give you 3 hours to work on the test, and surely that's enough to answer all the questions and go back and review. I want to go back here because I want to remind you that Tuesday is the last day to complete test 3. And the final exam opens this Wednesday, and you only have until the following Tuesday to complete the handwritten review for the final exam and complete the final exam itself. Hopefully you are working on those handwritten reviews, and for those of you who have sent me envelopes, you should be receiving back your test 1, test 2, if this is the first time you're sending an envelope, so that you can review that and ask any questions that you might have on those and how I graded it. It might be a little too late to send back test 3, but I certainly will if you send me an envelope. And use the discussion. Use the discussion to ask questions, to ask about previous tests, to ask about the test 3 material, to ask about anything that's going to be on the final exam. And I'd be happy to help you out so that you can be successful and pass this final exam as well as the class and go on and hopefully soon complete your degree. So thank you for being in my class. Let me know if you have any questions, and good luck on that final exam.